You call that a hook? I never even touched him! Come on, Red!
Eli Mercer had a gift for turning small frustrations into Broadway-level internal drama. A missed pass in practice meant he was washed. A bad bounce off the boards meant the universe had personally red-tagged his future. If the locker room playlist was bad, he received it as persecution. At 21, he was fast, talented, and intense in the way coaches praised publicly and discussed privately with aspirin. Hockey had become his altar, but not in a healthy way. Every shift was a courtroom. Every mistake was evidence. Every game was one more chance to prove, finally, that he was enough. Which, of course, meant he never felt like enough. His junior team had qualified for a national showcase, and for once they weren't flying commercial in matching sweats, while a guy named Trent argued with TSA about stick tape. A donor had paid for a private jet. The players treated it like they'd been drafted into royalty. Guys took selfies on the stairs. One filmed himself saying, "Light work," though he looked deeply unfamiliar with loafers and aircraft etiquette. Eli, however, was spiraling because he'd had a bad scrimmage the day before and had spent the morning replaying every mistake like a sports-themed hostage video. Before takeoff, the captain came out to greet the team. He was maybe late 50s, trim, warm-eyed, with the kind of calm that made other people lower their volume without being asked. His name was Captain Julian Cross. When he heard Eli liked aviation, he smiled and said, "Come sit in the cockpit for a few minutes after we level off." For the first time all day, Eli forgot himself. The cockpit was smaller than he expected, less movie magic, and more disciplined intelligence. Buttons, screens, checklists, quiet voices. Captain Cross explained things without showing off. "Flying's mostly approach," he said. "A smooth mind beats fast hands." Then, 40 minutes later, the right engine exploded. Not a dramatic Hollywood fireball. Worse. A violent bang, a hard shudder, warning tones, a smell like burning metal and hot wiring. One of the players screamed from the cabin, which honestly felt fair. Eli froze. Captain Cross did not. He became even calmer. Not casual, not detached. Focused, alive, methodical. He ran checklists, communicated with control, directed the co-pilot, and shut down the failing engine with a kind of peaceful precision Eli had never seen in any human being outside of maybe surgeons or mothers in emergency rooms. The plane was losing altitude. Cross redirected them toward open land and, with astonishing control, brought the jet down into a farmer's field in a long, tearing slide of dirt, stalks, and broken fencing. It was ugly, violent, and somehow full of order. They stopped. Silence. Then breath. Then shocked, living noise. Everybody got out. No one died. An hour later, with sirens in the distance and players wrapped in blankets they absolutely did not deserve stylistically, Eli found Captain Cross sitting on the landing gear, drinking bottled water like this happened every other Thursday. "How were you like that?" Eli asked. "Up there. I would have lost my mind." Cross looked at him kindly. "You did lose your mind." Eli let out a weak laugh. "Yeah, fair." The pilot nodded toward the ruined jet in the field. Pressure doesn't create your mind. It reveals your training. Eli frowned. Every time pressure hits, Cross said, I practice something. I imagine the truest version of myself in that exact moment. Not the panicked version, not the prideful one. The version standing in the love of Christ. A son, held by God, being trained, not destroyed. Taught through pressure to inherit what really matters. He leaned back, eyes steady. Then, I imagine Jesus himself living his life through me in that moment. Thinking through me, acting through me, holding my center. And if I do that in small moments, traffic, delays, insults, setbacks, then when the large moment comes, my soul knows where to go. Eli stared at him. Cross smiled. Romans 12:2. Don't copy the culture. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Culture says pressure means prove yourself. Christ says pressure is an opportunity to prove his peace. The words landed harder than the emergency landing had. For years, Eli had trained his body and neglected his inner world. He had practiced speed, reaction, endurance, but mentally, he had been drilling fear, rehearsing shame, perfected self-accusation. No wonder adversity owned him. He had been discipled by the loudest voices around him. Performance, ego, comparison, rage dressed up as competitiveness. Like aviation, his approach had been all wrong. He thought intensity was strength, but unexpected challenges don't care how intense you are. They expose whether your mind has been trained for peace. That season, Eli started over. Every bad shift became practice. Every mistake became a checkpoint. Every surge of anger became an invitation. What would it look like if Christ were living in me right now? And slowly, the miracle happened. He still played hard. He still hit like a freight train with a passport problem. But the volatility began to lose oxygen. Peace became muscle memory. Not because life got easier, but because his mind was being reformed under pressure. He had wanted to become unshakable. Instead, he was becoming inhabited. And that turned out to be better.